recall the living will. Well, I think it's good things finding anytime. You don't have to be done.
That's true. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad thing for you and me to answer the same questions. Separately?
Separately.
Why?
After her.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we could take a vote. Majority rules.
Do you think you would want to have any of the following medical treatments performed on you? Kidney dialysis? No.
No, not in any case.
No. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation if the heart stops beating? No.
Not at all. I mean, that saves a lot of people. You know, like people keel over on the street and somebody comes along and does that. And
If I keel over on the street, I keel over on the street. And a respirator? No. I've had that listed a long time. No intubation.
that the intubation is, I mean, what do they call it when they just put something, oxygen or stuff over your face?
Well, that's just oxygen, but when they intubate you, they let that thing down into your lungs.
Oh.
And I don't want that.
That oxygen or something like that, if you needed it, would be okay?
Well, oxygen, yeah.
Okay.
Artificial nutrition used if you're unable to eat food. No, I don't want any tube in my stomach. That's about what it amounts to. Or, you know, like a lavage tube. I don't want that either.
What about IV? They feed people through IV?
No, that's hydration, sometimes electrolytes only. You can't feed really somebody through that. It has to go oil solution in as a lavage.
Interesting.
Okay.
And artificial hydration, if unable to drink fluids, not to any extent. You know, about the time that they start I don't really. If any of this happens and I don't recover without benefit of this, then I don't want.
So does that mean like you don't even want an IV? That's what they use IVs for then?
Well, an IV, most of the time you put it, I mean, you could still eat and have an IV. You could still drink and have an IV. Say now if I get pneumonia and they might put in an IV in order to give antibiotics or something like that. So you'd have an IV in place and it has to drip, you know, in order to keep your veins open. But
But that's not the same thing as artificial hydration, which is if you
I
can't
don't think so. And you?
It can be used for the same, but usually it's more specific. They would tell us whether the IV was for hydration or if the IV was to give her antibiotics.
Yeah. Do you want to donate parts of your body to someone else at the time of your death? Well, who in the world would I use them? It wouldn't be usable, I don't think.
But if they did find something that was transplantable, skin grafting or whatever, would you want that done?
I don't care. In fact, I think I've signed it on my driver's license, you know, that in case of an accident or something, and they couldn't. I think there's something on the back of it that says it's okay.
Okay.
How would you describe your current health status? I think I've had it. I just need to teach you about a little bit of this. But some days I think I'm fine, and other days I think I've had it. You know, when I don't feel good, why I really don't. If I'm having a good day, why I'm fine. If I had any medical problems, how would you describe them? Well, I don't know. You read that, and apparently I have a severe lung problem and some heart problems.
You feel like you have that?
Well, I know some days I have yeah, I feel like I have that. I feel that way because that's what they told me. And I don't think they're wrong. I mean, when I've gone to them, I've really felt bad enough. I'm not a person that has ever gone to doctors. Shoot, I didn't go for 8 years, and they wondered how come. I said, because I didn't do it.
That's the best thing to do as far as I'm
Then they
concerned.
turn around and say, we should have an exam every year.
Well, they tell you that all the way along, don't they?
Good money maker.
Sure it is. And of course, once you come in, there's then bound to find something. I haven't been to a
In a
doctor.
month.
Yeah, I haven't been to a doctor since, well, other than I guess for my back. But for any other problem, I haven't been to one since I had my Motorola physical when I hired on. And as far as I'm concerned, unless there's something to go for, stay away, because they'll find something to fix, and then once they fix you,
If it's broke, don't fix it.
you're in the system for good once they start fixing things.
I even brought his tetanus shot home to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't go for 8 years because I really didn't have any reason to go. You know. And I can't even remember what it was that I started. I can't really remember the reason that I went back after 8 years. And I really haven't gone to the doctor that much. Rich Meyer, would say, well, you ought to come back next year. And when I go back the next year, he'd say, well, what did you come back for?
Well,
Then
you've got the memory problem here.
Oh, well, of course, then, he always Glenn would say he wasn't going to him. I'm not coming back. Oh, I'm not telling him I don't have to come back. And then Dr. Richmond would always say, but my kids aren't through college yet, Glenn, you gotta come back. And of course, he needed to go back, that was sort of a camaraderie between the two of them. So I guess that's how I describe them, If you have current medical problems, in what ways, if any, do they affect your ability to function? Well, they just slow me down. I can't keep going, just, that stay with these inhalants, I probably have felt better since I have been doing those. And not getting the naps in the daytime, going on. Although I get, across my back, I kind of get terribly smart.
You haven't woken up the last few nights with chest pain?
Well, in fact, I haven't had that since she put me on that Iserdal. And of course, he took me off of it.
Why do you take, maybe why you took her off?
Try to see how she does without it for a while, trying the different medications.
He told me he didn't think it was my heart, but he hadn't listened to it yet. How do you feel about your current health status? Well, it will be what it's gonna be, just whatever, however, one day to the next, whatever happens. Happens. If you have a doctor, do you like him or not? I like him.
The new doctor.
Well, I've only been to him once,
Yeah.
just, and he hasn't given me a thorough exam, so I don't know, And the reason I decided to go in, I like my doctors in Madison, okay? And especially like the pulmonary doctor down there. The family physician, I like her. I think she depends on the reference to the pulmonary specialist and a reference to the cardiologist as to what to how to direct my care. It's the distance that I sort of decided to go to this man.
Mm-hmm.
But he seems very nice and I think everything I heard, Ruth goes to him and he likes him. Emily goes to him and she likes him. And he's very, I wonder how come those doctors don't wear white jackets though.
Same reason the nurses don't wear white caps. Or do they?
Some of them do.
Okay.
Like Esther over here, she's the director of nursing out at the healthcare center. And she wears her white cap and stockings and her white uniform and her cap. And she says, I worked darn hard for that.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I am not giving it up, and I like people to know I'm a nurse so that they don't take me for an aide or, something. And of course I always think about Helen when she went to the doctor with, who was it? Beckwitt she went to the doctor with, and the doctor didn't have on a white jacket, and so she just said right away, she said, my doctor always wears a white jacket. Well, the doctor went out and came back with a white jacket. And I do think it's more professional. And I think they need to be more professional. Now mine didn't have a white jacket on the other day, but I might pull that on him the next time I go to him. Do you think your doctor should make the final decision about any medical treatments you might need? I think he could only express what he thinks would be good, and I think then I should be able to accept them or not, according to if I'm capable of, if I got any smarts at all. But I've already stated how I feel about these types of treatments, and I would certainly hope that he would not, would respect that enough to,
Well, when they say that the doctor should make the final, is that like over the wishes of the patient? Does that actually mean that some doctor would do something that you didn't want?
And people asking us all decisions, and that's what they're asking.
Because they say the doctor really knows best, and
Doctor knows best, I believe, tells me to do, and some doctors are terrified of death or of not doing everything for fear of being sued. There's lots of reasons for that. She's retaining the right to make the final decision, not him.
Well, I would think if he is aware of my wishes, and you're aware of my wishes, then I think that almost directs what the final decision
Should
would be.
The problem is that physician is on vacation and you're stuck with somebody that you don't know.
Yeah, but this has, you know, this,
Yeah,
Oh,
this
yeah.
living will is on the chart.
correct.
Mhm.
That just makes it
But there's still some judgment areas.
right.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes, I
does
know.
she need this?
Mhm.
And he says, you know, that you aren't to the point where these things apply yet, in his medical opinion.
Well, it's
Then
like,
who decides to do what?
well, it was like her making the choice of her not giving Herman the antibiotics because it wasn't going to do him any
Yeah,
good.
right.
And that doesn't go under any of those others, doesn't go under dialysis or
Sure.
anything else. It's a judgment call.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the doctor would have done it just to be on the safe side, sort of,
Mhm.
unless somebody said,
Well, I think I told you his remark to me was, well, you know, we are taught that as long as there is anything to be treated, we treat it. And I said, but what's the point? Because you treat the pneumonia is not going to help the kidney
Right.
failure. And then I said, what if this were your father, what would you think? He said, I would feel the same way as you're feeling. So I don't know.
sounds right to me, I would want to make the decision for myself.
Yeah.
I would never want to say some doctor should just decide what to do.
How important is independence and self-sufficiency in your life? Very much so. Well, I cry and whine once in a while. I guess, I talk to you. I'm not really crying and whining. I guess I just feel like maybe you have wanted to know how I really felt, and I didn't want to make it too bad, but I didn't feel good. And I felt like some of these things were important that I should get them taken care of. And then whatever happens, happens. I'll probably do just fine. If your physical and mental abilities were decreased, how would that affect your attitude toward independence and self-sufficiency? I mean, it'd be like Helen Jepson, you know, when we were there with her mother when Aunt Mary and Emily and I were there with her mother when she died. And Helen would always said this, oh, she said, you know, my mother has been so good. She said, I hope this is not recording this. Maybe. She says, boy, when I get sick, I'm just going to be an asshole. So I hope I never be. Well, if I weren't able to, you know, if I get ornery or something like that, why then I think somebody needs to. Is that what that means? How would that affect your attitude towards?
Well, I guess it could be taken two ways. One is a prediction of the future. If your abilities decreased, then at that time, how would you feel? How would it affect your attitude? Who knows?
I probably wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, who
I
knows?
wouldn't know that I wasn't.
Well, if you just your physical, you know, condition went down, but your mental ability stayed up, you know, you might think now that you're going to feel a certain way, but if it actually happens, you might feel different. The other way to take the question is, now, your attitudes towards your independence now, well, let's say you had a physical problem or a mental problem that made you less able to be independent, how do you feel? What would you want done? So let's say you had something happen like Nanny.
Well, I would certainly realize that I couldn't, I wouldn't want to impose on your life, or I wouldn't want to I wouldn't want to obligate you to taking care of me, I would hope your interest in me would never be any less, but as far as expecting you to take care of me, I wouldn't, You might have to make a decision to put me in a residential home or a nursing home, if I couldn't stay here and couldn't do for myself, because I don't know how home health care will ever cover. And I don't know that I would want somebody to come in here to be here with me. I think that probably it would be better to have me put in a residential home or a nursing home.
What's the Zimmerman home? That residential or nursing?
How did I miss that?
It's a nursing home. The Pioneer home is a residential facility.
So
You're independent, need occasional nursing care, somebody you can check on a daily basis.
And
Once
maybe
they become,
set up their medicines while
right,
they're
yeah. And then they move to the next section when they're not able to remember how to take their medicines. They need semi-skilled nursing care, much like Zimmerman's. And then there's the skilled nursing center. Most of those people are pretty much bed-bound and need constant nursing care. So it goes that direction.
But some of these residential homes are not bad at all.
No.
You have to be able to walk around and get yourself, to the bathroom and get dressed. They do your laundry and they provide your meals. And, but they do see that you get your medicine. And but if you get to where you can't do pretty much those things, then you have to be sent to the nursing home. Or semi-skilled, even like Zimmerman.
If that were to happen, do you have any strong preferences as to whereabouts? I mean, let's say something like that needed to be done. So they have probably a bigger selection around here, but other than Uncle Bill, and I guess anecdotally, what would you think about maybe coming to, if there was one in Anchorage that was a good place to be near us, so we could kind of see or would you rather stick around this area here?
If I got to that, well, I guess you'd have to make that decision.
No, not necessarily. It doesn't mean you don't know what's going on. It could be that, maybe maybe you get a giant bunion and you can no longer walk around or something. Or just physically become unable to keep on walking around the house and pick up the mail and do all the stuff that you need to do. I guess if that time comes and you still know what's going on, we could ask you, but I was just kind of curious as to what your attitude about coming up there would be.
I don't know, because I can't envisage myself not. I'd like to think I'd go to Arizona in the winter.
Or one down there for that matter, although then there's really nobody there.
No. Well, I don't know. Can't take it with me, so. might end up like, man, I'm gonna go to a battle.
Yeah.
Well, I looked down there and I think, well, Zimmerman's isn't such a bad place to be. You know, of course, who knows when Mary's gonna be there. She had cancer on the breast here lately. Had a couple of things.
Think about that.
Well,
Because here, you'd be more likely to know the people that you're with.
it wouldn't make any, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if they were decreased, I probably, I don't know, I guess I'd try to get along no matter where I was.
Well, yeah, but that's the way you are. You know, where would you prefer to be is kind of the question.
Well-
Other than riding the range in Arizona.
I don't know, I guess. It should be whatever would be easiest for you guys.
Never anything.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think about Annie Mary enough. It was her preference to stay in Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And when it got to where she couldn't take care of herself in that apartment, they had her in the senior apartment. Well, then she was in the nursing home in conjunction with the hospital over there, and that was, I think, when Phyllis died, all about that. So Phyllis wasn't getting up every weekend or every other weekend and staying 2 or 3 days with her from that, you know. And they found out that she, well, then Helen would go up and kind of watch her in the senior apartment. But Helen said, I knew she wasn't doing right. And so I told her, well, she had to fix me lunch that day. Not there. She had to fix the dinner. And the main reason I did it was to see how capable she was, whether she could do it or not. And when she got to looking in her mother's refrigerator, there was food that had spoiled and, you know, hadn't been cleaned out. And she couldn't think how to fix a lunch. So that's when Helen said, well, she had to go to the nursing home. And she was there in that nursing home in Adams, and she liked it there because her friends were all there.
Exactly.
She had lived there all through the years. But Helen also said she wasn't coming up to Milwaukee, not like Helen, or not like Phyllis did. She just couldn't because she was still working down there. And he was over at Illinois, and he couldn't get over to Adams. And she wanted him there to come every day, practically. So that's when Hugh said, well, she's got to be moved to Illinois. He said, then I could stop in and see her. And that's what they did with her. Well, first she didn't like the idea. But then she did like it because Hugh would stop every day. And he'd sit and play a game of cards with her, you know, game of rummy, or just to visit her every day, you know, unless they were on its own. And so I think she probably, you know, that was as good an arrangement as could be made for anyone. But it was up, really, it ends up being the kids, if they have to be the ones that take care of them, like, they kinda have to make those decisions that fit in with their life. You know, and I don't know that I would expect that anybody would, because God only knows if my faculties were gone, what would I expect? I don't know. You know, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you wish to make any general comments about the value of independence and control in your life? Well, I'd like to, you know, be responsible for myself as long as I possibly can be. I guess I ask for help. I ask you and ask Bill if I think that, you know, if I feel like I need a little, I'll bring it up to you, and talk it over with you, and maybe talk it over with Bill. Okay.
I think you've been a little reluctant to ask us for much help because of the distance.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I don't, what am I gonna do? I don't know.
Well, that's part of our responsibility, though, is if you need help, if you say so, we'll be there for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Or if you ask and there's nothing, you know, there's part of what you need we can do, and, you know, we might not be able to do all of it, but we can help. Maybe we can do it, or whatever.
a little short of coming down here and getting the snow off my car. That's, I mean, things like that,
Yeah,
I can't expect you to do.
that's a little tough.
Yeah, it is.
Or we might be able to help make arrangements and pay for somebody to do it, or, you know, there might be some way to work something out if we know that it'll be of help.
Right.
If we don't know, then we don't even have the choice of helping or not.
Well, I haven't really had any problems. You know, I haven't had any problems. You might say where I've had to ask for any help to, I've been able to pay for these things, having them done, and I'm not really doing it all. What do I need? I got a home, got 2 roofs over my head. I got a car that works good, everything I need, little money in the bank. You know, what more do I need? If I ran into trouble, and I thought, you know,
As long as you do, it doesn't have to be serious trouble.
you know, that's nice of you, and I might just,
Should take us up on it. Independence is great, but
Part of independence is being able to ask and not expect that we're gonna go, oh, heck, you know,
yeah.
that's not it.
well, I realize that, but, you know, you got a busy job, and you got a busy job.
Well,
And
she does, but you're my mother.
Yeah.
So what she's doing is part of our life, but if I were to leave, it doesn't have anything to do with the baby business, and since she's not home half the time anyway, you know, I have more spare time than I might otherwise.
Well, you do have now, but don't forget, you had a time here when you had a new guy coming in, and you felt the responsibility to
Oh, yeah.
to see that he learned how, and I really, there was no reason for me to say, please come down next week, or something like that.
Well,
You know.
if there is, though, don't hesitate. The job is definitely, for everybody, a lower priority than any kind of real family.
Well, I realize that.
The company's got, there's no, it's not one of those companies that says, you know, you don't leave unless your vacation is planned 6 months ahead of time. And,
No,
if you
your
got a personal
company has
problem.
been wonderful, you know,
Yeah.
they sent you down when Glenn was sick,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and
that's
they
who
sent
we
you
are.
when he died, and that, great, but, you know,
And like now I haven't called back. I called back once because they asked for me to call back to give permission to put my resume, my personal resume in a bid, which I told them I didn't want to spread around, just hither and nod. But, so they took that as don't spread them around at all. So they called, and I had to call them from Disneyland and say, yeah, it's okay to put that in there, but beyond that, I haven't called to find out anything about it. My second in command is doing whatever he does, her second in command is doing whatever they do, and business will get along. No matter what happens, it's there.
well, any business, I mean, people need to be on vacation, they need a break from
Well,
business.
when Mother broke her ankle, we didn't think it was gonna turn out to be the problem that it was, and she didn't wanna bother me, but in talking to her on the telephone, when I finally said, Mom, do you want me to come, she broke down and cried. She wanted the kids, and, there was no stopping me. I was on a plane, I called people and said, I gotta go. By the time I got down there, things turned out to be worse than they first appeared.
Yeah.
But that was beside the point. It's going to turn out to be a simple fracture. Right then she was feeling lonely and she needed her daughter. And I went. And that's the way it ought to be.
Well, I would, I think I probably, if I felt it was that bad, I probably would say, I wish you'd come. And then I'd probably feel like a fool when I felt better the next morning knowing you were coming home.
Yeah.
Just
Just
I
as
felt
long as
better
you act
because
truly miserable,
I feel better because you know he's coming.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
I mean, that's why you would feel better. So,
No,
yeah, that's,
I appreciate that though, and like I say, I really have felt a little panicky a few times, and, with this breathing bit, but if, when they sit down and talk to me, tell me to shape up, why then I just do it pretty good, take a big shot of brandy, why, now that's going on there.
I don't want to take me now.
and the other point here too is this isn't 20 years ago when we were broke.
Yeah.
Our children are grown, and we make an embarrassing amount of money. So it's not a financial problem at all.
Well, I realize that, and I'm happy for you, and, for that reason, I wouldn't, if I felt I was in dire need, I wouldn't hesitate to say so.
Okay.
But, I don't know, there are things I know I'm not able to do. I mean, like I might think, oh, geez, I would have loved to have gone to Arizona. But I didn't really feel I was up to it. And I might like to think, oh, I'd love to take a cruise, but I know I'm not up to it. And I would have loved to have come up to Anchorage, but at the time I just knew that I couldn't make that trip without being so totally exhausted when I got there. And you didn't have all that much time with your kids. And I didn't, I thought, well, I just can't, I knew I just did not feel up to making that trip, to getting to the airport, to getting packed, to get ready to go. And I just wasn't, and I thought, well, I'll be so exhausted up there that it won't be, it won't make Christmas pleasant. And that was my feeling about it. And I just knew that I just could not do it. So, I'd like to, sometimes I think I'd love to make that trip to Atlanta. And I know I just can't do it. But I'm not discontent, being here. And I have friends here and now, people I can call and talk to, and I'm lucky.
Mhm.
I'm very lucky. I'm fortunate to, keep doing as well as I'm doing. A lot of people have a lot worse off than I am, you know. But I appreciate that, and I know you're doing all right, and that's fine, I'm happy for you. If I really needed, like I told you, I guess probably there's a little over 60,000, plus the houses, you know, the two places, and a ring, and a car, and, you know, I think all that, maybe for what work I've done, maybe that isn't too bad. If I'd worked on and on, it probably would, you know, be a lot better, but then my wives aren't so great with I guess it's because I was brought up with so little, so poor, that I'm thankful for what I have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're the same way. We don't want more and more and more stuff,
Yeah.
like some people seem to resist buying more stuff. Unless it's something that we can really use for something,
Yeah.
we don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Material things aren't all that important in a lifetime, you know.
Well, that's why if you call and need him to come, or both of us to come or something, you know, I know that you worry about it being a financial burden, and it would not be.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to remove that concern from you.
right.
Let's see if you can.
And we do, we got Crocs of them.
Yes, we've been saving our parents. Except when we go out to dinner for $250. We
That's
spend
what
a
you
few
saved
of them
it for.
then,
We saved the pennies, the
No.
quarters went so.
yeah.
I was thinking, well, from the time he was just a little child and people would give him, you know, pennies or nickels, like, he always had and that little elephant thing that broke. You know, why the pennies always went in the bank, so it's always been kind of a thing. We gotta save our pennies. Well, we did. We were poor.
Yeah, I didn't know it.
Well, see, I was poor, and the folks were poor,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know it either.
There's a lot of poor people don't know it.
Yeah.
She
I
grew
grew
up pretty
up poor.
much in poverty and
Yeah,
didn't think they were baked bean sandwiches.
yeah, baked bean sandwiches, or creamed vegetable anything on toast was a real frequent meal. I thought it was delicious. Still do.
I
Not realizing it was what mother had one lousy can left in the house, you know, and she spread it
Pretty
for
much
meal.
middle class.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons we thought this camera would be kind of nice, is that we can take pictures of us up there and we're doing stuff and send them to you on a tape for that. And, you can see what's going on. You know, you'll have to send them like back so we can tag more onto the end of each one. So we'll have to have a couple of them kind of rotate it through the mail, watch the post or whatever.
That's very nice.
Get you a little bit more included in what's going on. I wish they had such things when kids were growing up.
Well, yes, I should say so. But you've got a lot of things, you know, slides and.
Well, we do, you know, I think
And
you
pictures.
mentioned the idea of they can put your slides on videotape, but I can do it myself actually. And, you know, maybe we'll sit down and do that. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
And we could send you 10 years or 10 hours probably worth of boring slides on tape.
Well, you know, I think probably, sometimes I think, oh, it's a shame to have maybe missed out on the kids growing up, you know. But then, that's the way it was. You were up there working and we were living down here and working. And so, when distance becomes a factor, you borrow other people's kids and granny them.
Yeah.
And you will too, now that your kids are gone. I mean, little neighborhood kids will probably mean a lot to you folks too, just to have them stop by say hello or something like that.
So Darlene that you saw in the film, the long-haired gal in the clinic,
Oh, yeah.
she has two little girls, what are they, about 4 and 6 or something?
They're 5 and 2.
5 and 3,
Mhm.
close.
Yeah.
And they're little blonde cuties, and they're there, and most of them left. She's, people in my office are having kids right and left, they're all, there's a bunch of them in their early to mid-30s, and that seems to be when they're all having their kids now.
Mhm.
So they're gonna be going through what we went through when they're our age.
Yeah, yeah,
And gee, are we glad we did that when we did that.
yeah.
When we were young and dumb.
And had more energy to put into it.
Well, that's true.
You know, because they're gonna be coping with teenagers when they're 50 years old. And, you know, in some ways, maybe
It's
it'll
a
be
little
good.
more difficult.
Yeah.
Keep up with them and your work schedule and everything too. But, well, like I wrote to you one time, you know, 'cause when you were here, or in my family growing up, I mean, family was terribly important. I mean, birthdays and Thanksgivings and Christmas, those were family days that you made that point to get home, you know, to be with the family. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's wonderful. But because of today's world is a lot different than when I grew up. You know, just over the, something through the woods to grandmother's house we go, you know, for Christmas. Or
Over the river.
Over the river,
Yeah.
through the woods.
Now it's over the ocean and across the continent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, so, that it just doesn't warrant. People don't have the money to do that. And so, and I think another thing when I was in nurses training, because I was one of the older nurses, and some of those poor girls would come, they'd never been away from home before, from like Michigan and Minnesota, you know, and they'd never been away from home. And if they couldn't go home for Christmas, it was a sad, tearful time.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be away from home. And so I thought, oh gee, we'd try to think of things, my roommate and I would try to think of things, you know, and have the other kids come in so that maybe their Christmas wouldn't be quite so. We always had a Christmas tree, you know, things like that. And things down in the kitchen that we try to set up, and down in the reception, big reception room when you went into the nurses' quarters, so that things weren't quite so lonesome for them, you know. They didn't have the time to be alone, you know. And I guess that's why I told you, well, if we couldn't be together, we'll invite in somebody else and make it more like a family, you know. Don't be alone, to kind of not want to be alone, you know. Invite somebody in and share it.
Yep, I've done that pretty much.
Pass it
Every
on.
year.
Pass this togetherness along. Good. And then being in the Army too, you better think of ways to.
Yeah. Yeah, seems maybe we had some of the more memorable Christmas and Thanksgivings that we've ever had were when we were all alone with only the people in the service.
Right. Mm-hmm. And you give each other courage to get through it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you build up each other's morale. Well, anyway, you expect that your friends, family, and or others will support your decisions regarding medical treatment you may need now or in the future. Yes? Simply yes. What will be important to you when you are dying? Well, how in the world do I know? Physical comfort, no pain, family members present, and so forth. Well, if I'm dying, will I know?
Sometimes. That's one of the reasons hospice exists.
Oh, well, I'm alert, and, yeah, you can't call hospice, you know.
And would you prefer to be at home? Would you prefer, if you had choices, you know, would you prefer to be at home with family around? Would you prefer to be left alone? Would you, you know, have you thought about that at all even?
I don't know what I even, I suppose I thought as far as being in a nursing home, you know. I think it'd be very difficult to be at home here. In this situation, you know, cause there's no local hospice. There's no way you can get help to come in at home here. I mean,
If we were retired, would you want us to come and take care of you? So you could be home.
yeah, but by that time, you probably will be retired and living up and down.
Might be retired in 2 years.
Well, that's what I mean.
Well, if we're retired, we might not be living up there all the time, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we're not planning on selling our house in Anchorage to go up there and live in that permanently. It's not a year-round residence. And we're serious. We recognize that as we get older, winter is not as much fun as it used to be. I mean, I still enjoy it, but I was really not ready this year because I was playing on my bicycle and doing summer stuff, and I wasn't ready for winter. And I'm real anxious for spring, so we can do that again. Well, I mean, that's more and more every year.
Yeah.
So in a couple, you know, just a very few years, we may want to spend major chunks of the winter somewhere other than Alaska.
It's fine, come here and call me.
Well,
Maybe that's what you'd like to do, is if we were to go to Arizona, and you were to go to Arizona, we'd all stay in Arizona over the winter.
Well,
So what kind of, other things would you like? That's probably about the best, huh?
well, in the summer, I'd rather be here.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere but Arizona.
You would be too.
Yeah. Explosion when that thing goes off.
This
doesn't it?
day, it took me a while to get used to that.
It does, and I had a guy come and look at it, and he put in a new nozzle, he said there was something wrong with it. I carry Mother always has a, contract that they, if anything gets slipped or you call them, they'll come anytime, day or night, or they'll fix it, and it's covered by that maintenance fee. And, he came and changed it, and for quite a long time, you could hardly hear it. And sometimes now you don't hear it, and then again, it just kind of booms. Before I thought the thing was relocating. And I called and I told him that, well, I guess we better get somebody up there. And when he came, he said, now what's it acting like? And the darn thing did it. And he said, oh, I see it down the back. Yeah.
I guess the other part of that question too is that, since if you were in severe enough pain, would you want enough medication, even if your memory was out, if you slept most of the time with pain medication, would you prefer to have it that way, or would you rather tolerate a little pain so your brain can be clear? Because that's something we run into hospice a lot.
Yes.
Is trying to make that balance, and what would you prefer, your best guess now, and realizing that it might change?
Well, I do know that I have a high pain tolerance. And, because I don't believe in taking medicine. I don't believe I don't suppose, if I take an aspirin, I'm out for the night, and for the most part, I don't need, but of course, I guess in get cancer and things like that. It's very, very painful, and who can say, I mean,
Right.
how much I could tolerate, and I would hope that I would be able to, you know, we all have to stand pain in a lifetime. I don't want the minute my belly hurts, I don't run for something to,
Yeah, I don't
you know.
either. But that's partly because you know it's gonna go away.
Right.
You know, all you gotta do is, if you got a headache, relax, do something, and in a few hours, probably it'll be gone.
Go lie down and it'll go away.
Yeah, but something like that, if it becomes chronic pain, you know, it's, you know, I assume it doesn't go away.
Okay.
You just wanna live with it, you know, or have something done to make it go away. Or at least make it go mostly away.
Need medication.
Right. Cause one
I
thing
wouldn't
not
wanna
be
be
in
a
shock.
zombie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wanna be, you know, just so I can't think clearly. Not unless it's run so far that I'm not thinking clearly anyway,
Because of the pain.
you know. Then I think someone else has to say, well, she probably needs more.
Cause I had the one lady at home with liver cancer, and she would tolerate a lot of pain, and finally she'd look at me and say, put me to sleep, please, I can't take it anymore. And I'd give her a good dose of medication, and she'd sleep for some hours, come to and say, thank you, I can handle it again for a while.
Yeah.
And she would tell me when she wanted, cause she knew it confused her totally, but she wanted enough
Yeah.
brain power left to kind of make that decision.
Yeah.
And another man that I had said, I don't wanna know anything, keep me gorked.
Yeah.
And we did. And
No,
so,
I would, I think a person has a right to be aware as long as they possibly can. And I know people that have given medicine when, just to keep somebody passed out,
That's true.
so they were less trouble.
That's true.
And I don't believe in that. I took care of that Mrs. Sims down there in Atlanta over at the, very fashionable hotel and apartment. Looks like a tree there too. But anyway, 3 nurses around the clock, and the other 2 nurses on 3 to 11 and 11 to 7 kept her so knocked out with Dilaudid. And then when I go in the morning, you know, what she would want to come too,
Oh, yeah.
but she could hardly stand to come to because she'd had so much Dilaudid. And that was mainly so that she would not give them any trouble on 3 to 11, get up and want to wander around in her apartment, you know, and at night, and which I didn't think was right. Well, they didn't write half of the stuff down, but they didn't keep drug count either. And I finally said, okay, this is the way it has to be, because there's no accounting for the Dilaudid that she's getting. You know, you're not writing it down on a chart. Well, anytime you need it, why you can send to the drugstore and get some of it. I said, yeah, but, you know, drugs have to be accounted for, and this is not right. The doctor would order them, you know, just tell them, okay, give them anytime you want. Then the doctor, she told the doctor in one of her rare moments to, that he could have a Cadillac. Oh. So he took it. You know, she didn't know, I mean, she was not responsible. And so anyway, the medical association down there made him get that car back
I
there.
would think so.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Even then, there's nothing changing.
You know, sad when people do that. as I say, I think, I like to think that my mind was as clear as it could be, and unless I couldn't stand the pain, I don't want to just not follow, be unaware. Where would I prefer to die? With my boots on.
I'll buy that one.
In my boots. Yep. What is your attitude toward death? Well, I think we can't get out of this world alive.
Lots of people have
Remember
tried.
what I told you one time? You could put on my tombstone. I tried, I died. So I try to do the best I can while I'm living. And when the time comes that I'm not to live, then I think the good Lord will call me home when it's time. That'll be the time. And that got me here when in his time, and he'll take me in his time. Nobody else is, I think.
What do you think of that? What do they call it? Doctor Death, the suicide doctor admission? That's where it is.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Dvorkian.
Yeah, I know. I think it's too bad that they decided to jail him.
Didn't they? I haven't really.
He's going to trial.
Well, he's been in trial.
Did they find him guilty? Because Michigan
they
law doesn't have anything against assisted suicide.
I think they found him guilty. The jury found him guilty. I think I heard that the other day. We go back through these last 2 weeks' papers, you might find it. Because I heard it on, I know I heard it on TV. I think he was found guilty, and he was to appear for sentencing. I don't remember when. I think that's unfortunate. But you know, what is it, the Hemlock Society out of England has, there are a lot of people, and probably to some extent, I hope that when I'm no longer of any use to anyone or myself, I would hope, I would hope that I could die. I look forward to death. That's my friend.
But you just said a minute ago that the Lord brought you here when He wanted to, and He'll take you back when He wants to.
Yes, and I would ask Him if He would. But
If He
whether He
wasn't,
does or not, that's His business.
yeah, and if He doesn't, I mean, should somebody else?
I don't think I could go along.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Kind of scary.
I think it's a shame that so many young people are saying there's so little hope in this world. That they want to commit suicide.
I also don't think that anybody has no purpose, even those children who are born who never do anything but lay. I think somehow they teach people patience, kindness.
I do too, Joy.
And I think the same thing with elderly, as if they become more disabled. Just because they're alive, I think that they hold a purpose to teach people love and patience and kindness and to care for people and count your blessings that for the grace of God, you're still on your feet.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's ever
All
a
you have
point
to
when
do is
somebody loses
Go
their
over to the
value.
healthcare center, Oh, that's kind of bad experience because it's, or like up where Annie Marion was, so well, even a couple of those gals down there, that are having so much trouble walking around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm sure that they would thank the Lord if He would let them go home. you
Yeah,
know?
but that's different than not having value,
Well, that's true,
or having a purpose, you know, you may
but
not
you
have.
see, there's a difference between you finding a value and then having that same value, the individual, being aware of their value to you in their disability, you know.
So they might wish that they would die.
God has
But-
wisdom, has chosen to leave them there for a
Yeah,
purpose,
but
whether they know it or not.
that's not the same thing as somebody coming along and giving them a poison pill or something. You know, it doesn't seem to me to be quite right, although sometimes it seems like the merciful thing. It's just,
Well, I'll agree with you there too. I think sometimes when you see people in so much pain and so much anguish and they, you know, just, you think, oh, God would be so good if you take them home. And, he, you know, their death would be their friend. Isn't anything to be afraid of.
well, that's what the whole thing about machines and stuff comes down to, I guess. I mean, if you do nothing, you know, they might die sooner. Maybe if you use the machines, they might get better, but more than likely you're just prolonging the death. Well, if you say, okay, I don't want to prolong it, so we should not do anything. Well, how about if they're at the point where they're not going to get better, if you don't think we should prolong it, maybe we should help them, you know, to get it over with, which is what this suicide thing is all about. But you know, it's a kind of a fine line there, but it looks to me like if you step on that one side of it, now you're on a slippery slope, you know, that doesn't really have any end. Now what if you get to somebody that is merely very expensive to take care of, you know, or is moderately expensive, but there's nobody to take care of them? Where do we draw that line? I just wondered what you thought about that. Pretty soon you're putting people out of their misery just because they're miserable.
Maybe start making choices over who should live in the first place, and now we're
Right,
back to Nazi Germany,
Yeah.
which is exactly what they did.
How do you feel about the use of life-sustaining measures in the face of terminal illness? Just prolonging your life. I prefer not to feel life prolonging. How do you feel about the use of life-sustaining measures in the face of permanent coma? No, I prefer, and want to sustain, you know.
You don't figure you'll pop out of it one day. Some do.
I know.
I guess that's the reason there's a question about it.
That's what's happening.
But
How many do?
Very,
Pretty rare.
yeah. If you don't come out within about a week, things are not looking good, and after a month, real rare.
look at those girls on here, that Quinlan girl, how long she lived afterwards. And who was the last one? I can't remember her name.
Gallon, Missouri.
And she went quite a long time after.
I mean, the one they withdrew food and water from, and she died 4 days later. They fought for 2 years in the courts.
Yeah. So no, I don't. Another thing, your kids are gonna have to pay for it. Their kids are gonna have to pay for it.
For what?
Well, use of all these life-sustaining measures.
But they got good jobs.
How come they haven't got enough money to?
Well, they're just getting started, but by the time this stuff has to happen, they'll be rich.
Well, this might happen day after tomorrow, and poor David's a month behind in his rent. No.
We'll just add it on the federal debt.
No, I don't believe in, I think it's kind of, I think there's almost too much technology. That's resulting in like this guinea pig research. And I don't know, it's fine for, but I feel like when you get older, we're just like, in a way, describing it in the first one, we're sort of like seeds, you know, we're planted, there's a growing period, and then there's a period when we're productive, but then the seed also dies. And I don't know, I just don't, you can't hold that seed forever.
So far.
Yeah. Well, why do research to try to hold it forever? I think it's almost unkind, some of the research that's being done on people.
People are afraid.
Yeah, they don't want to die. Most people don't. Most people don't want to, or probably nobody wants to. And an awful lot of people are afraid.
Well, I'm not afraid.
A lot of people are.
Well,
All the way
I do
back to
know
the
that.
fountain of youth, right? Looking for a way to live forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd get pretty old living forever.
Well, if you have
Years
no
might not be
belief,
bad.
if you have no belief that when you die anything else happens, that's pretty scary. But you think if you could just, you go to some bottomless pit somewhere, so when you have faith of something else, then that's a whole lot less scary.
Well, I mean, I have faith as far as that goes. But as I say, I think that some of the research and some of all this technology is being carried way past what the human body is supposed to. I just feel like it's just too much sometimes. I know that guy, well, I like Lynn. Gosh, what that name was too, up there. And I just feel like I think when you get real sick like that, it leave you alone. Because I'm a person, if I don't feel good, I want to be left alone. I want to go in and take my ass and go lie down and nobody bother me, you know. And you're like that too. When he was a kid and he was sick, I'd give him this aspirin and then he didn't, you know, he was not one, Mama, Mama. Some kids don't want to be left alone. He'd go in and go to sleep, you know, and I'd go in, wake him up, give him something to eat, and he'd go back and crawl in bed again. But he was not one, you know, as I say, some kids just did not want to be without Mama.
Alone when I'm sick, I'm too grumpy for anybody to be around me.
Yeah, I think so too. The trouble with technology is it just keeps going on, and anything that can be imagined anymore can be, if not accomplished, at least made enough progress toward to keep the funding going, and before you know it, you know, things are pretty much out of hand. And they can always hold up an example of a person, that something really wonderful was done. You know, look at so-and-so who we replaced his head and brain. And, by golly, he's now lived another 20 years and he's enjoyed every minute of it. You know, that's one person maybe in 10 million and all. And it cost $10 million.
Oh, more than that.
Yeah.
More like $1 billion if you're gonna start in with that.
Yeah. And,
You
you know, where does it end?
know, and what one person is worth that?
And 14 cents a day with vitamin A capsules will prevent the blindness of the 3 million children a year that go blind. So which was of greater value.
Yeah. I feel that way. I feel like, I feel like I have lived my life, and rather than spend a lot on me from now on, it should be spent something productive for the young, you know, like education, rather than trying to sustain or maintain the life of a normal person. That's just the way I feel. I feel like euthanize any measure in the face of irreversible crime. Not for me, or anybody else. They can make any decision they want, but not for me. If you wish any general comments about your attitude toward illness, yes, I guess I've said enough general comments. What is your religious background? Well, I'm sort of Methodist at heart. You know. How do your religious beliefs affect your attitude towards studies or terminal illness? No. I don't. I guess it's probably I have the faith to not be afraid of dying, or serious illness. If it comes, I'll have to cope with it. I'm sure I have been given the inner strength to, to do it. Nothing is so bad that he never gives us more than we can handle.
Shirley MacLaine will be back anyway.
I don't know, do I want to come back?
Well, you get recharged and come around again.
Well, yeah, I know what she believes. Is my attitude toward death find support in my religion? Well, I'm not really that active in my religion, so. And, like, does your faith, community, church, and synagogue view the role of prayer or religious sacrament? Well, I think the power of prayer is very, very strong.
I think we're kind of looking for any particular rites, like the Catholic last rites and some of the Jewish kinds of things. And Methodist churches that have any particular sacraments that they give right at death, anything like that.
Do you wish to make any general comments about your religious background? No. What else do you feel is important for your agent to know? I think we've discussed it about it before, only it's been discussed.
Yeah, Well, think of anything else?
No.
Your answers to most of those things would be pretty much my natural answers anyway. So I think I understand pretty well.
As I say, I want to be cremated because I don't believe in I think it's just almost a sin to not spend that amount of money on something productive, like, stuff for children, other sick people, poor people, kids that need to go to school, that sort of thing. And I guess I would hope that if I had any money left, it still sort of carries over. It was Paula's wish to give to the Shriners Hospital for crippled children. And they do wonderful work. They really do. And it's not, it's without benefit of color or creed or anything. I mean, any child that needs help can go to those hospitals and be taken care of. And how many youngsters, have received help that can walk and are doing very well in their later years as they grow up. And I think that needs to be, that's what we need to do is help those less fortunate than we are.
Was it let me in the cemetery with a post hole digger?
Sure. What? Take the shovel. They will.
They don't have to have somebody special come along and do it?
No.
For a picnic?
Well, I don't know. Just come to the house for the picnic.
No.
Bring your beer or whatever.
Have a wait.
Well, I think funerals, and I really feel this way about it. Funerals should be a celebration of life, not a sad thing over the loss of somebody. Because if we know we're born, we're going to die. And I think, like, as I say, a simple memorial service or a family get-together or with friends, if you want it. It's because it doesn't have to be that formally planned or anything. If people are interested and they know that they'll want to go. But I just think it should be a celebration of life. We give them, credit them for whatever they've done that's worthwhile, and not anything that's for great acclaim, but hopefully for the goodness of that person. I think about Bertha Fraser, such a nice tribute that they paid for her. Did you ever see that? And that was very nice, that as in regard to her being such a good teacher and how much she has done for the young people in the community, and how much it meant to be able to help the young children get started out in school with a good foundation and all. Something like that. Like I said, trying. along the line, I think probably I've done a little bit.
I think quite a bit.
Um, I tried. Yep.
Yeah.
Then stick that in that folder over there. Of course, maybe if you want a copy of that, do you want a copy of those questions or that? For any of your practice rooms? They don't have to have it to come to you, do they?
No,
Yeah.
no. And generally the people that want me to take care of it over something like that have already got pretty definite ideas, and that's why they come and get me out of this. I think those are good things to think about, and I think it needs to be thought about different stages of life, because it has really changed depending on circumstances and.
Well, I think that's true now.
No.
I mean, your answers to those questions might be different than mine, or your answers might be different than mine. Or a younger person, say 30 years old, somebody has, well, you have cancer, and it, you know, would be different than the way I look at it, right?
Mm-hmm. The only two differences for me is, if I can, I'd rather die at home. Don't want to be in a hospital with people poking at me, and I don't want to be on this for years and all that, but I'd really rather be at home. And I don't want to be cremated. It scares me. I just don't like the idea. Oh, yeah. And I am an organ donor. If there's anything left to use.
Well, I think in my...
And I want to go with my boots on, too.
You can be taken apart, but you don't want to be fried.
Yeah, don't ask for logical explanations to this. There doesn't have to be. That's the thing about these questions. You don't have to have logical reasons. You just have your wishes and desires, and that, you know. I told him I wanted on my tombstone. She cared.
Well, I feel if I hadn't cared, I wouldn't have tried. You know? Put it that way.
What about you, David? Those kinds of things. You say you don't want to be hooked up to machines. What about the other things?
I want to die on an avalanche. Be spread around, greased down the mountainside.
Well, that's with your boots on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Could use anything worse.
You got one of those on yours. I don't have one of those on mine, but it's only mainly because I haven't done it. I'm not sure I like that idea, because it might leave out something you might need, even though you're not supposed to need it.
Where are you going?
I don't know.
Well, God promises a perfect body in heaven, and I'm waiting for mine. Instead of lungs.
So what's the question?
The questions are things like, if you were that sick, would you rather be in a hospital or at home?
Oh.
I would
Probably
too.
at home if I got somebody, to be there. If you're going to be there and I can make you miserable, then
Yeah, if I could keep you.
yeah.
Tell them I don't do chronic care.
I could be a real good chronic pain in the butt.
Yes, you could.
I don't think you would be.
You haven't
have to
done it
work
when you've
at
had
it.
a cold as an adult.
I'd have
You've
to
never
work
heard
at
this
it.
piteous whining, and oh, you're right.
Oh, Come on.
He wasn't like that when he was,
Yeah. As he gets
made
older,
him that way.
as he
Yeah.
gets older, you know, it's like, my throat, please, can I have some tea? You know, it's like, okay, I'll bring you tea, you know, and then, "Dude, I need my neck. I mean, we're talking milk it big.
Well, once every 2 years, maybe.
About every 6 months, actually. Does I have to go to work, and he goes, I'm miserable, just get away. Or what do you want
You
to eat,
don't like
hon?
a little baby when you don't feel good?
No, I don't. I don't feel left alone.
Oh,
I am.
I bring you your
You do,
stuff.
and I say thank you, but when you know, if you try to be nice, I'm really grumpy. It's like, you know, go and watch TV. Leave me alone before I step on your foot. You know, I don't get sick that often, and when I do, I get ornery. And I recognize it, and he knows it, and he just stays out of the way. He'll come in
You're probably
periodically.
ornery because you didn't want to get sick to begin
I don't
with.
want to get sick. I don't like being sick. You know, I've got things I got to get done, and I'm not a happy person. And he'll come in and say, "Do you need your aspirin?" or you know, something like that. And then he notices. And I don't like to be particularly touched. You know, some people like to be touched, have their back rubbed or something when they're sick. He does. I don't. It hurts to be touched. I don't like it. You know.
You'd be as bad to take care of as he would be.
Yeah, and a different accent.
Not for
Yeah.
him to the spectrum there.
I would like to think that if I was in that kind of situation that I could be a civil individual. I don't realize that. But, yeah, I don't have I guess it's because I don't have a whole lot of patience with being sick. Yeah. One day of being sick's a good excuse, but if it goes into 2 days and I've got a bad flu or something, you know, it's time to get out of bed and do something, and you can't.
You can't.
And you just get, I can see where some of the terminally ill patients I take care of are very angry,
You bet.
you know, and you sit and you listen to them talk and you tell them, hey, you know, it's okay to be mad. It's perfectly all right to be real angry and frustrated, and sometimes that's the first time you've had permission to feel that way, you know? And then it's okay because if somebody recognizes how frustrating this whole thing is, and to be dependent on people and to have a stranger in your home to help you out, you know, that's hard. It's real hard, and they have to be so sweet and nice to people, so they'll be nice to them in return. You actually don't want to pick anybody off if you need their help later, and that just isn't, you know, that's real difficult to cope with.
Well, I guess anytime, whatever, the situation calls for whatever's being done, you know, or has to be done.
You know, certain loss of dignity if you can't even go to the bathroom by yourself anymore. I had one lady who needed that bedpan. Yet every time she sat up, she passed out. Yeah, there was just no way. So we finally worked around with pillows and all kinds of stuff, and so that she could get to that and have a little privacy. It drove her nuts, and her family members would stand there while she was trying to go to the bathroom in a bedpan. You know, so finally, she could not tell them, she just couldn't tell them she needed to be alone because she didn't want to make anybody mad. So once I discovered that, it was easy then to say to the family, you know, I was like, if I came and sit around you while I went on the toilet. Oh yeah, you know, something so obvious. You just didn't think it was under covers, and what's the big deal? What's a big deal? It's a very big deal.
Well, you know, I know it is a big deal. It's like my mother. Now, you know, it just killed Manny. That I should see her body, but she didn't have any clothes on. She just never thought that the time would come when her daughter would see her without her clothes on. You know, I said, well, Mom, I'm a nurse. I've seen so many bodies without clothes on that, you know, you didn't even feel embarrassed, but there again, see, it was almost a parent-child type of thing with her.
Well, that's what happened with Mom in the hospital, you know, to be able to get her up to the bathroom. You know, rather than call the nurses, I said, you know, I can help you, and she says, I never dreamed in my life that my daughter would have to wipe my bottom. And I said, well, I think you wiped mine when I was little.
Yeah.
I think I can manage this now, but for her it was real devastating. And she did what she had to do, but it was real hard for her to let me be her nurse. And basically that's what I found. I told her, don't think of me your daughter, think of me as your nurse. You know, and that made things a little easier, but it's real hard to separate that, you know.
She probably still
I'm sure, you know, helping her into the shower, getting a bath, being
Yeah.
able to wash her back, and, you know, it's real difficult. That's why, like you, I've seen more bodies than she'd ever shake a stick at.
Yeah.
You know, one more is no big deal.
Where we don't, you know, you're not,
I told her I wasn't taking notes.
but I think back and I think how many people were so embarrassed, you know, to have to be uncovered or any part of their body uncovered, to be,
Exposed. You're vulnerable. You know, you're the naked person in the room and everybody's dressed. But you. You know, it's a pretty scary spot to be in. You have control over you.
well, what, somebody was talking the other day, some movie star, I guess it was. Maybe it was Tom Cruise and his wife that likes to go down to the Bahamas. I think it was on Johnny Carson's show. And they like to go down to the Bahamas for vacation. And of course he said, you know, down there the beaches are nude. Well, he said it's a little difficult to get your socks off and get your pants off, but you still got, you know. And he's going on, it's kind of cute and clever. He says, these people come up to you and ask you questions, he says, you don't know where to look. And then finally he says, you get up the nerve to just drop it and go, you know. And I laughed at him when he was telling that, you know.
I tell my moms if they're going to use cesareans, if we know in advance or if we're going to end up there, and you go through the whole explanation, you know, with the table and the whole bit, and you tell them, look, now you're going to be the only naked person in the room. That's what the rest of us are hats and masks, so you won't have to recognize us in public later. And a lot of women have come back and said, you know, that kept me sane. Going to mom.
Really?
Yeah. You know, you have to make it real for them. Otherwise it comes as a real shock to be wide awake and have somebody take your clothes away and you're strapped to a table where everybody else is walking around talking about the nets and, you know, anything else that's going on, and you're going, I'm in here for major surgery, I'm naked, and everybody else is acting like this is a Sunday in the park. And for everybody else it is, because you're very used to it. But for this person, that is a major event in their life. You know, and most people go in there knocked unconscious before any of this stuff takes place. But with cesareans, the last thing you do is you do put them out or you got their epidural in. Either way, they're awake for everything, up until the point of the surgery. And that's, you know, people are walking by in the halls and looking in the windows, have nothing to do with the case. And oh, sure, you know, yeah, we're operating room. You're walking by the strobe on a case and look in the window and see what's going on.
What's going on in that room?
Yeah.
They don't care. I mean, they can tell by just a glance, but that woman is, well, there they are staring at me.
Some woman thinks she's in Disney World and she's the exhibit.
I guess so.
You know, everybody else is, you know,
They're
not so much interested in her as, you know, what they're laying out to do with surgery, and, you know, is this the twins or, you know, is this the breach or, you know, it's not Mrs. Cruz, you know, or, you know, something like that. It's a different place to be in, and so.
But even knowing that, you wouldn't want to be there.
Darn right. Yeah, you know, no, that's not exactly something you look forward to with joy. I can still remember waking up after my tubal. coming to, and my gown was taken off. And I want to know how it went, and who took it off, and why. You know, my surgery was here. What was this doing missing? That bothered me intensely for years until I was in the OR and knew exactly what was going on. I went, now I get it. But boy, I didn't know what happened when I was unconscious. And all of a sudden I wake up with no clothes on. Wait a minute. I went to sleep with things on. Not a lot, mind
Somebody
you.
in my bedroom.
You know, yeah, it's spooky. If you don't know that stuff in advance, it can be pretty distressing. Or women in labor, you know, they get rid of everything boy when they're having that kid. And one of the signs of health is after that baby's born, they're putting stuff back on and starting to control their environment again. Oh, excuse me, I'm naked. Here's the clothes. And during labor, they don't care, and you don't want them to care. But right afterwards, it's amazing. In 5 minutes, you see the same person come back you've known for months.
I think it's sort of human nature. And men are sometimes just as shy.
Oh, sometimes they're worse.
Worse than women.
Yeah, when I do the men's exams, and you know, comes time for the prostate exam, they're shyer than any woman for a pap smear. You know, they go, what? Didn't think you did those things. Wrong. Turn over. Yeah, you know, and it's real embarrassing, but until God sees fit to put these organs somewhere else, you gotta go for them. I give the men the same ones. I'm not taking notes. And kids, you know, have been dressed from the time they're born within hours of it. Their first diaper on in their clothing. And they come in for their exams, and you start removing their clothing without permission. I tell you what, you got a battle on your hands. You got to convince those kids to do themselves. And that's why Kathy and I are so successful with the kids, because we play with them, and we listen to the teddy bear, and we listen to them. Look in the teddy bear's ears, and we ask them for permission to look in their ear, and they get to pick which ear, you know. And so that after a very short time, we don't have to hold those kids down while they're screaming their little heads off. You know? If you're in a great big hurry, like a lot of offices are, you know, mothers have to hold those kids just as tight as they can because the doctor's in a big hurry. He's got 15 minutes to make his diagnosis, write a prescription, do your teaching, and get the heck out of there to the next person. And I'm going to roll so well. Most kids are scared to death. The way they close, and the person with the white coat comes in with things like you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, little kids can't get rid of their clothes fast enough. They like to run around.
That's right. When they make the choice.
Yeah, right.
Damon could tip over and run faster than anybody. Change that diaper, boy, that thing was off. Oh, gone. Get your butt back here. And he's turning grin at you. So the dignity of what you want is really important. And people should respect that.
This one was always so helpful. He just raised his little butt up for you.
Lisa was pretty good about that, but boy, Damon liked to go and giggle. Giggle? You know, and if I wasn't in a big hurry, that was fine. You know, but if I had something boiling on the stove,
He had a little boy downstairs, Bill McLean, you know. He just loved to follow the garbage truck. When the garbage truck went by, those two little rascals, you could just know where they were, because they'd gone right along the sidewalk. Watch the garbage truck. As it stopped, you know, and went to one place to the next, they'd walk right along the sidewalk. They were real good about staying on the sidewalk, though. I guess all those kids never had, like, little boys especially are like that.
Trucks, big machines. That area is like, the apartments are still there. You know, a couple of times stopped back there. It seems like the last time was probably about when I was in college. Yeah, just to go look and see. Because it was so huge, everything was huge building, great, wide valley next to it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't quite so huge.
Yeah.
But it was
Well,
still a
didn't
pretty
you
good
go-
gully.
Did we go by there when you went to college? Yeah, I took you down.
Yeah. That's the last time I remember it.
Okay.
The Cudsey lines,
Yeah.
the creek where the tadpoles were. And way out in the back, and the place was neat. It was in this valley or gully. It probably was 100 feet wide, maybe not even that, 75 feet wide, probably from edge to edge, and then the apartment building and all of its stuff. And then went on up the hillside, and the creek ran down through it. And it was all full of, what Cudsey vines are. It was completely overgrown with those things. So it was like a jungle, a really pretty good jungle. Big and tall and trees. And then back up the creek a ways, farther, we were afraid to go there. That's where, was her name Lila May?
Yes, she was the lady that worked at Colored.
Yeah, was that her name? Okay, Lila May, the colored lady. They lived in I think it was a shack. I think we glimpsed it a couple of times. Really a, traditional poor people's shack in Georgia. It was just up this valley a little ways, probably another 100 feet that way or something. And we'd be prowling around down in there and see up over there, and we just knew you didn't want to get caught over there.
Probably brought you home.
No, I imagine it, she was giving us something to eat.
Yeah. Or told you to get home.
Yeah. 1338 McClendon Avenue.
Yeah. So it's a little 5 point.
Yep. And I knew my address pretty well, so I could get home. Well enough to stand 40 years.
Well, they nailed in all our fun spots this year, and that wonderful little gully there on the other side, our house, and then there was those cabins, and then there was that wonderful deep gully, it had a cave in it, and all kinds of fun stuff, and the last time we were back there, they flattened that hill down, filled all that stuff in, all gone.
That's your first house up there,
The one I was in Delton all those years.
Oh.
Yeah, before you grew up. Went back to see if that was really that deep a gully, as I remember, because we thought we were going to hang some cars and stuff, and went back to look, and it doesn't even exist anymore. They pulled it all in, cut that hill down, and that was a great lake house. You could get to the top of that and go really fast.
Have you been back there this year?
No.
And that's since you were there 3 years ago?
I think the last time I think I was back there was 2 years now, it could be 5 years ago.
Oh, brother. You should see, who was that lady that lived there? In that nice house? Is that turned off? I want to listen to news, David.
Mrs. Wednesday Barrett, that's not quite right.